Welcome to the series Marriage and Family with Israel Quaresma. My name is Brandt Barnard. In this episode, we'll be looking at communication and conflict in marriage. So, Israel, where should we begin?
Yeah, first of all, I think our viewers could take a look also in Ben Bessett series, and we'll talk a little bit about this. So a lot of things I would not touch it because he already talked about confrontation and listening. This all is in communication and conflict in marriage, also good principles. So, but I want to start by Philippians chapter 2, which is a great text that I really love to always keep in the back of my mind. Philippians 2, that says, "Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves." And he goes on to talk about this humility thing and compare to Jesus Christ, what he had done for us. And this should be our mindset concerning, not only concerning communication in marriage, but with everything. To be humble and consider others better than ourselves, superiors to ourselves. And this is, if we start with this, we begin with this, this should be just change all of our relationships. So, for example, if you're having over some important person, it's like the president of the United States or someone authority or someone important or famous, you would treat them as they deserve, kind of what the office deserve, because they need to be respected. So this is what we have to think when we are dealing with our spouse, right? To think that they are superiors to us. And if we think they really are in some senses, we know our sins and we know ourselves. And that is the mindset that we need to have first of all.
So I'm reminded of what Peter says as well in 1 Peter 3. I don't know if you'll get to that. I think it's 1 Peter 3. To live with our wives in an understanding way.
Yeah.
They're co-heirs with us of eternal life.
That's it. They were bought with the price, right? They are precious to Jesus.
Yeah.
So they should be precious to us as well. So that's the first thing. The second thing with this in mind, I want to talk really about communication specifically in practice, about engaging, right? Because usually people don't sit and speak to each other about their day, about their daily struggles. So this should be a thing that a daily thing for a couple to communicate and to talk about their day. For example, when the husband come home from a long day of work, our tendency is just like, I don't want to talk about it. It was so stressful. But you're keeping your spouse away from you and you're making a gap between you because you don't talk about business, you don't talk about your job. You miss the opportunity of talk about something that happens, why did it happen, what should you had to do in this specific situation. So this was a kind of thing that I used to do with my wife. I got home and we talk about what happened in details, right? So even today in church, when we're just the worship ends and we go home, we talk about the service and we talk to each other. What did you talk with Brandt? Just like a 5-minute conversation, but we just talk about it because we want to engage and want to have this connection, right?
Right.
So this is a very important thing.
That's part of counting others as more significant than yourselves is also sharing burdens or what you're learning.
Yeah, because we believe that they can help us, right?
Yeah.
And this is another way to show that you care about others, that you care about your spouse, right? You want to know how she feels about it and what she feels, and this is the way you can engage to each other, right?
Yeah.
Communicating about the day, simple things during the day. Another good opportunity is to ask about devotions, right? So I hope that each have his own devotion, her own devotion, and this is very good because you can ask questions about what you were reading in the Bible. Do you have any question about it? Let's talk about it. And this is a kind of way to have a spiritual conversation.
Yeah.
It's not something just like so spiritualized. It's just like, what did you read today? It's
Yeah.
very simple, and you can build on that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This conversation. Another good opportunity is to read something together, right?
Right.
As a couple,
Yeah.
a book or even the Bible, and to talk about it and to discuss it. And during the day, you'll find opportunities to, or even times that you remember that thing and you
Yeah.
and you point that out with your spouse. So this can build your communication really well. Yeah.
Excellent. How does this communication look like in terms of the different roles in the marriage, like as a husband and then as a wife?
Yeah, I think we have this view about the husband have to build her wife up in spiritual things, but this is a thing that the wife has to do as well as Christians. So I think sometimes people just think, okay, I'm the husband, I need to teach her, I need to teach about the Bible and taught her some things, but she as a Christian have to do it too. It's kind of different office thing. The man because he's the leader, but the woman because they are fellow believers, they are brothers and sisters. The same way about submission and respect, right? Of course, the wife have to submit and to talk with respect with her husband, but the same with the husband, right? As you mentioned, 1 Peter 3, and also the text that we read about consider others more significant than ourselves. So this is a thing that the husband have to do as well. It's different. It's different aspects, right? It doesn't mean that the wife don't have to be submissive to her husband, or the husband have to be submissive to her wife. It's not that, but I think it's a good balance.
Yeah.
So this should shape the way that we talk to them, to our spouse, because if husbands have this in mind that they have to respect them, they would not feel like I'm the leader and you have to obey me, right? So this is a very good point.
So now we're talking about communication. The conflict happens in the marriage. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, this is very hard. We have to be more the simplest as we can be and basic, because when we have conflict, the only way to solve it is with communication and with a good and clear talk to each other, right? So what usually happens is that something that I don't like, my wife did something that I don't like, or mainly two things can happen. So first of all, I'm harsh with her, and I yell at her or do something that disrespect her, or I just withdraw. Just, okay, I don't like it, and I keep it in my heart. And this will be piling up every day, and someday we'll fall apart, right? So I think the most important thing is to just to wait the heat of the moment to pass, right? And to sit and to talk clearly, right? Without supposing anything, without yelling at each other, but just explaining where your view, because although there's something that happened, some sin happened and you're mad with each other, but two of you have a different perspectives from the same fact. It's not two. It's not two different truths. It's one truth, but different aspects, different perspectives. So you need to sit down, because sometimes we just suppose, right? We don't give to our spouse the benefit of the doubt. So sometimes the husband come home and he have a stressful day. He did something mean to her wife. It's not good. It's sin. But at least she could understand a little bit. The other way around, the same. She had a hard day with the kids all day long, 3, 4, maybe 5 children, and just come home and just want to be served. She will feel mad at him, right? This does not justify, but it explains. So just to sit down and say, I don't like what you did because of this, and that. And we have to be humble to not be offended, easily offended, right? Because this is what happened. I say something that I don't like, and you kind of get defensive or aggressive sometimes. So to be humble, to recognize that we are sinful and we will sin. And the first thing that we need to be clear, to set the boundaries and limits and forgive each other. Right.
I think it's good what you said, that we need to be clear. And we started out this discussion by talking about communication shares. We speak with one another. And when we have these unwritten, unknown expectations in my mind or my spouse's mind, my wife's mind, and I transgress that expectation, I have no idea. And that can also be a source of conflict. It's good to get those communicate those clearly.
That's right. That's
And
right.
because also if they come out like, and if it's something just sinful and ridiculous, like then you can work with your spouse. Like,
Yeah.
look, that's not realistic.
Yeah, for sure. And this is very true for women, because women suppose a lot of things because they're more emotional sometimes, and we as men sometimes are more harsh than we should be. Yeah, we should set boundaries, and even in practical things, just like maybe Ben had talked about this before in his series. Do not say always or never. Those things are. Yeah, it's not true when you say you always do this. No, it didn't always do this. Sometimes it does this and this and that. So these are some words or you're supposing things that they're not true, right? And this can hurt our feelings and our spouse's feelings.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, that's what you think about me? I always do that, and the conflict goes on, right?
Right.
So it's hard.
We shouldn't bear false witness.
Yeah.
Even in throwaway words like that.
Yeah.
Like never always.
Just to think before start to talk.
How do you fight fair, so to speak, with your wife or your spouse?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think the very first thing is do not engage in an argument in the heat of the moment, or try to gain your spouse in the heat of the moment that you were discussing, and then she said something bad, and you say, "Oh, you sinned right now." You see, so you get her to be more angry.
Yeah.
So just let go. And afterwards, you just came to her. You admit your own sin. This is the very first thing that you need to do. Admit your own sin. And they said, don't you think, this is very good starting, don't you think that you were a little bit out of tune, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Just like asking questions, making her just to think, yeah, maybe, and you can start from that, but not in the heat of the moment. You just wait a little bit, and then you come calmly and humbly, admitting that you sin as well.
Yeah.
And then you can try to build upon this. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good to come in humbly and patiently. Be, as James says, quick to hear,
That's it.
slow to speak, slow to anger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. You said that one of the things we need to do is to give the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Can you open up that a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Because I was talking about supposing things, and we don't know what's going on in their hearts, right? So when we come to an argument or to discuss with them something, we have to at least think that they could have a good reason for that, although cannot justify their sins, but just to give a reason so you can understand, right? Something, it's understandable if you think in the context, right? If you just say, she yelled at me, it didn't mean nothing. But what about someone hit you and you yell at him? It's kind of understandable, right?
Right.
And maybe it's kind of a defensive attitude to defend yourself. So we need to hear the context first and give the benefit of the doubt that maybe she had or he had good reasons to do that, although it's a simple thing.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you for joining us on this, what was it, Marriage? Thank you for joining us on this episode of Marriage and Family with Israel Quaresma, as we were looking at the issue of communication and conflict in marriage. Lord willing, on the next episode, we'll look at our relationship with in-laws.
Thank you.